Today we're going to be mixing together Arctic Fox Purple AF with Sunset Orange. As you can see, mine is still Purple Rain, but for anyone wondering, Purple Rain and Purple AF are exactly the same. I haven't used up my bottle yet, so I'm still going to use this. I think they had to change the name for legal reasons, but I'm not certain. I'm just guesstimating. So my swatches are labeled 1 through 12, but that is not synonymous with hair levels. I'll do different video clips and pictures and such near the end of the video, so numbers just help us keep track of each swatch. These are human hair swatches, but the only one that's going to be virgin hair is the number 4 black swatch. The rest have been chemically colored or bleached at some point in their existence. 1 is green, 2 is gray, 3 is a natural red, again 4 is black. From 4 to 11 is a range that goes to platinum blonde, and then 12 is kind of like a toned version of number 11. So for my mix videos, I like to do at least 2 separate mixes so we can see the range of color we can get. So I'll do one mix at the top and a second mix at the bottom. So for the first mix, it's going to be a little bit darker, I think, and it's going to be a 4-to-1 ratio. So it's going to be 1 part of Sunset Orange to 4 parts Purple AF. Please keep in mind, everyone's hair is different, which means everyone's hair will take color differently. Plus, different screens and monitors can change the colors, especially undertones. So please just use my video as a reference for how this could possibly turn out for you. For the second part, we're going to do equal parts. So it's going to be the same amount of Sunset Orange to Purple AF. So this mix was voted on by you guys. I like to do votes for these quite often. What I've been doing is I will kind of come up with a general color for the outcome that I want, and then I'll pick through the requests that I have that I think will have a similar outcome. So for example, in one of my more recent ones, I wanted a purple outcome. And so I picked both highly requested and very low requested mixes and let you guys vote on those. Funny enough, I only had one request that I knew of that I had seen for aquamarine mixed with virgin pink, but when I put it in the poll, it actually won, and that's what I did my video on. So doing requests is important if you want to get me to do it, but also stay tuned. I do often like to do votes for my Arctic Fox mixes. So I'm going to let these sit now for about 3 hours so that the swatches can really absorb the color. I will then rinse it out, and when it's dry, I will meet you back here and we'll do some comparisons. My doggie is playing with her toy in the background, so if you hear that, I apologize. So overall, I feel like this turned out a little bit darker than I was expecting, especially considering how it looked when I first applied it. I'm not sure if that's because of how long I let it set or if that's just the nature of this mix, but I do think it's very beautiful regardless. So number 1 was originally green, and I feel like it turned out very dark. Maybe in the before and after clips we'll see a little bit better of a difference, I'm not sure. But it looks nearly black, like maybe even like a black brown with a warm undertone. The bottom half, I would say, does look a little bit warmer than the top. The top looks even darker than the bottom half does. Number 2 was gray, and looking at the blonde swatch in comparison, I think it has a slightly smokier, dustier look. It's not as saturated looking. I'm finding with a lot of these videos that the number 3 swatch, which was natural red, usually kind of falls in between like 6 and 7. I'm not really sure if the undertone in the hair really did much of a difference, considering 6 and 7 kind of overall have a very similar look to the number 3. The more purple on top is less noticeable. It's obviously a lot darker than it was before, but kind of like the number 1, it almost has a natural look to it. Whereas the bottom, you can see a little bit more red popping through. And even though they both kind of still look in the natural-ish family, you can see it a little bit better than the top. 4 was black, so I don't see a difference there. I don't think the number 5 was this dark before, but overall I don't see the undertones really coming through as much. Maybe again in the before and after clips we'll see something, but it just looks like it darkened the brown. For the top part with the purple, you can kind of start to see it on the number 7. It starts to look a little bit more purple. Funny enough, the 8 and the 9 look a little bit brighter than the 10, 11, and 12. I'm assuming these ones were probably a little bit more porous, so they absorbed the color more deeply than the 8 and the 9 did. But if I recall, both the Sunset Orange and the Purple AF are pretty pigmented, so you could definitely get away with doing this if your hair isn't super blonde. On that note, I want to start saying in my videos that virgin hair will definitely have a different outcome than hair that's been chemically dyed, like with box dye or at a salon or something. Virgin hair on its own usually tends to not absorb color as well, so even if it does take color, it might not even stay in as long. In my opinion, none of these look at all like Sunset Orange, so I'm not going to bother comparing it, but because the top is still kind of purple, I want to compare this to the Purple AF really quickly. This is comparable to number 11. And I just want to show the Platinum Blonde swatch really quick, just so you can see how the Sunset Orange really does change Purple AF. It warms it up quite a bit. So for my comparisons, I thought it would make the most sense to find a color that is similar to both the top and the bottom. So we'll start with the top. The closest swatch that I have is from One and Only in the color Neon Purple. This is comparable to number 12, 11, 10, and 9. Oddly enough, it kind of looks to me like the mix that I've done is actually a little bit cooler. I see a little bit more warmth coming through on the One and Only, but I think you could probably achieve that by adding a little bit more Sunset Orange. Overall, to me, they look fairly similar. On some of the swatches, the One and Only does look a little bit darker, but you could always add a little bit of diluter to it too. The next most similar color I would have is Manic Panic in the color Purple Haze, but that one was not as dark and was a little bit more cool toned. For the bottom of these swatches, the most similar color I have is Lunar Tides in the color Cran Baby. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. Once again, I see maybe a tiny bit more coolness in the mixture. Cran Baby seems to lean just a touch more warm, so it has a slightly bit more red look to it. But overall, they're pretty similar. The mix might be a tad darker, but it kind of depends on the hair because it looks pretty dark on the number 12s. And then from there, the next most similar I have is also Manic Panic in the color Fuchsia Shock. Once again, that one is lighter and a little bit more cool toned. So the mix has kind of been in the middle of both of my comparisons. So you can do whatever you deem the easiest for you. All right, so now I'd like to do our before and after clips. Those, as well as anything you see past this point in the video, will all be done in natural lighting. Since I do use natural lighting to film, that means I often have to film on different days, which means the lighting environment can change. So if the before and after clips look kind of different from each other, that is why. I hope this video helped. If you have a request, I do have a link below to a Google form you can fill out. Just remember, I only do brands that do not test on animals. Thank you so much to my patrons, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.